either an exemption for Woodbury Villas, the Woodbury Junction project, which I'm happy to work with Kelly or with Rick Golden on the language. I gave suggested language in the comment letter, but I think it's very important that the project be exempted if you are going to go forward with the moratorium law. And certainly, it's critically important if you're planning on acting on it tonight, because there are literally decisions to be made on certificates of occupancy within days. So these are very immediate matters of great importance to my client. And I thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, I know I went quickly, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Barshaw. We're not going to answer any questions, and just in the interest of keeping this moving along, and it's just not appropriate. So thank you, though, for your comments. I appreciate it. Anybody else?
Mayor Egan, are you recording?
Yes, we are now.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, please identify yourself.
Yeah, Howard Trotter from Jacobowitz and Gubitz on behalf of the Village of Curious Shoal. As the board knows, in the last recent meetings, you've adopted a balancing resolution which determined that the village's application for its filter plant should go through your review process. And I've submitted a letter with respect to that. And we believe that we should be exempt from this moratorium because of your balancing resolution indicated that you would be processing this currently and promptly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Tim?
Yeah.
It's Neil Kraus.
Neil?
Yeah, on a different agenda item altogether is the Melody Lane.
Yes.
And I hope the board has had a chance to review the documentation from 2015. And I see Rob is there tonight. And I would just ask that that consideration be given to conveying that over to the shops at Woodbury. I mean, maybe there has been some change in the actual monetary amount. I can't see how if it would be that significant. But it really is, it's a road to no place. And it's the road bed. It's not it's the width of the road bed and maybe couple hundred feet going into the property. And I think it would relieve the highway department from having to either maintain or do anything else with that small piece of property.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Anything else from you or from Mrs. Kraus?
No, thank you, Tim.
And nothing from me.
All right, thanks very much for your comment. Next speaker, anybody else? Anybody else wish to speak on public comment on agenda items only? Okay, with nothing further being heard, I'm sorry, I was just admitting several people at the same time. With nothing further being heard, we'll move on to administrative business. So may I have a motion and a second to accept receipt of the minutes of the meeting held August 27th, 2020?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Graziano with the motion. And did I hear Trustee Gomez? Trustee Gomez with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. I have a motion and a second to approve abstract number 7 containing vouchers 200503 through 200576, totaling $111,293.60. Trustee Giacomazzo with the motion.
I'll second.
And Trustee Burek with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. May I have a motion and a second to accept with regrets the resignation of Joseph Buglino from the Planning Board effective September 2nd, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Giacomazzo with the motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Graziano with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Now, may I have a motion and a second to appoint Rich Cottagio to fill the vacancy on the planning board with a term to expire May 31st, 2024?
Can I, hold on, wait, I think we lost Jesus.
You lost who? Yep, you did, and he's back. Oh, he's coming back in right now. Let's pause for a second, let Jesus get back in, and I'll repeat that request for a motion. Jesus, just speak up when you're back. If you can't hear me, say something.
I'm back.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So now I'm asking for a motion and a second to appoint Richard Cottagio to fill the vacancy on the planning board that we just took with a term to expire May 31st, 2024.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Graziano with the motion,
Second.
trustee Giacomazzo with the second. Although I saw Andrew's hand and I heard Jesus' name. So, any discussion?
We're all one.
We're all one. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. All right, moving along.
I'm aboard, Rich.
That's right. Just so she has it, Tim, I abstained from both.
Okay, thank you, Tara. Thank you. Okay, so old business, continued discussion of Melody Lane conveyance. So I'm going to table this discussion pending documents from the applicant. We've requested a site map. We've requested a more formal application for this, and there's an issue of escrow involved. So this has all been requested by the attorney for the village to the applicant's attorney. And once we get that information, we'll take that up again. So next item under old business is a continued discussion on 15 Julian Court sewer connection. Again, I'm going to table this discussion pending additional research by the Board of Trustees. The board wanted some time to perform a little research on this issue. They have not yet gotten their questions answered. And we're also waiting for some additional data from our engineers before we can make that final decision as to how we're going to handle this. So we're going to table that as well. So next, discussion of decision on introductory local law number 6, but on this one, we're going to table this until the spring so as not to conflict with the general election. Kelly, was there anything more that you wanted to say on this?
Yeah, just so that the public understands, I know I've explained this to the board. The reason that it might conflict with the general election is this type of local law does require a referendum in the public. And with the time frames that are involved, it would put it very close to the general election. So that's why the board is tabling it until the spring.
Thank you for that explanation. Any comments by the board on that before we move on? Additional comments? Okay. So discussion and decision on introductory local law number 9, parking restrictions. So we've received no written comments on this introductory local law. Excuse me?
No?
Lee's open.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's open. Hang on a second. Let me figure this out. Mute that one. Got it. Okay. So can I have a motion and a second to adopt local law number 9 entitled Parking Prohibited, which will set parking restrictions on a portion of Valley Avenue?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, trustee Giacomazzo was with the first, or with the motion, and trustee Burek with the second. Any discussion? Okay, Desiree, can you call the roll, please?
I certainly can. Mayor Egan,
Aye.
trustee Burke,
Aye.
trustee Giacomazzo,
Aye.
trustee Gomez,
Aye.
trustee Graziano.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, next item on the agenda, which I suspect is why we have so many participants this evening, was slated for discussion decision, introductory local law number 10, building moratorium. So a large number of written comments were received. The breakdown is as follows. Opposing the proposed law, Yehuda Solomon, Jerry Frund, Joel Walter, Joseph Waldman, Herman Goldberger, Sam Fetter, Joel Teitelbaum, Abraham Joseph, Levi Friedman, Joel Yablonsky, Rachel Rosenberg, representing 345 Ridge Realty LLC, Faggy Felb, Paul Oliveira, representing Avalon Building Systems, Liebisch Jacobowitz, representing Woodbury Palace, Inc., Yoel Leifer, Joseph Wiener, Joseph, and I'm going to get this wrong, Priera, representing Success Martial Arts, William Frank, representing 154 Route 32, 92 Turner Road and 96 Turner Road. Stephen Barshoff, representing Woodbury Villas. Howard Prada, representing Catskill Aqueduct Connection Project / Avalon Building Systems. In support of the proposed law, there were no written comments received. There were comments received after the deadline. Victor Schlesinger opposing the law, and Gerald Cassessa, representing HV Realty Service, also opposing the law.
Mayor Egan, 2 more came in after I prepared this for you.
And the names are?
Late Jay Morrow from Bluestein, Shapiro, Rich, and Barone. He doesn't say who he's representing. And the United Jewish Council of Woodbury, both, I believe, opposing or at least raising issues.
Yes, I remember that. Okay, so the County Planning Department also responded to the GML review stating they found no evidence that significant intermunicipal or countywide impacts would result from its approval. They also had no further advisory comments. So considering the large number of written responses that we've received, we're going to table any discussion on this and any vote on this pending any possible changes. We're listening to what we've heard, we're reading what we've seen, and we're going to reconvene and figure this out. So we're not taking any action further on this tonight. So now new business. There's a petition for a street light on the corner of Serpy and Scunnamunk. We received a petition from residents on Serpy Lane, Scunnamunk Road, requesting that a street light be installed. Clerk Potvin obtained a proposal from Orange and Rockland that would install a 35-watt LED on an 8-foot arm on pole number 54787 over 49502. The cost would be an increase of $120.84 per year for the energy and fuel adjustment charges. May I please have a motion and a second to authorize me as the mayor to sign the proposal from Orange and Rockland to install a new light onto utility pole 54787 over 49502.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Giacomazzo with the motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Burek with the second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Did I see? Okay, Anderson, good. So that's unanimous then. Okay, thank you. Next item under new business, petition for a street light on Millvale Lane. We received a petition from residents on Millvale Lane requesting that a street light be installed. Clerk Potvin obtained a proposal from Orange and Rockland that would install a new underground street light pole in front of house number 53 by transformer 54808 over 49364 and install a 35-watt LED on an 8-foot arm. The cost would be an increase of $120.84 per year for energy and fuel adjustment charges, plus a one-time contribution of $1,441 to install the infrastructure. May I please have a motion and a second to authorize me as the mayor to sign the proposal from O&R to install a new light on Millvale Lane.
I'll make that.
Trustee Gomez with the motion.
I'll second.
Second it.
Trustee
Yeah, Chris
Graziano
got
with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Okay, next up is a snow and ice agreement. May I have a motion and a second to authorize me as the mayor to sign the 2020/2021 snow and ice agreement with the County of Orange for the village to remove snow on 1.23 miles of county roads, which are County Route 95, Dunderberg Road, beginning at County Route 64, Ninja Road, northeasterly to Gregory Lane, easterly to New York State Route 32, State Highway number 157. The county will pay the village $6,027.
I'll make it.
Okay, Trustee Gomez, thank you for the motion. Can I have a second, please? Trustee Burek with the second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Anyone opposed? No. Okay, I think I saw everybody. Okay, last item on the regular agenda is the closing of escrow for 205 Bakertown Road. Can I have a motion and a second to authorize the closing of the escrow account for 205 Bakertown Road as recommended by the building department?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Graziano with the motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Giacomazzo with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Okay, that concludes the regular business. So now we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the public do you have any comments? Why don't we start with anyone at all? Go ahead and unmute yourself and speak up.
Tim, Joe Zlotta.
Mr. Slaughter, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if anyone can, but do you have any status on the issue at Woodbury Junction in regards to the water moratorium? I know a pump had burned out. It was supposed to have come in, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Sorry, I didn't hear what it was about.
There's a water moratorium in Woodbury Junction. It's in regards to, I believe it was a pump that burned out. It was on order. It was supposed to be in within a week. I think we're into the third week now. The last I've heard is the moratorium's in place until further notice.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I'm going to caution you on using that word moratorium. It was a water restriction. People were asked to water the ones between 7 and 9, if I'm not mistaken. To answer your question, I don't know. I remember the issue, but I don't know if the pump came in or not. I'm not going to ask Rob because he's not the water department. He doesn't know. Okay. I'm sorry, Joe. I tell you what, I can reach out to Mickey tomorrow and I can get back to you with an answer on that.
Okay. Yeah, just wondering what the status is.
Sure. I'll do that. Thank you. Anything else, Joe?
That's it for me.
Okay.
If I may ask a question of the board?
Please identify yourself again for the record.
This is Howard Trotter from Jacobowitz and Gubitz. We had, on behalf of the Village of Curious Joel, previously requested the board consider reducing the escrow payments that are necessary pursuant to your existing law for the review of our application. The formula that you have in your code would require an escrow payment to cover the cost of your consultants of about $160,000. That's widely excessive from what this type of review should entail. We've suggested that the escrow should be $30,000 and that we would keep it replenished at that number during your review process. And we would just like some guidance from the board as to whether that would be acceptable.
Well,
Howard, I actually spoke with Marissa on this and had emailed her. I thought that you were copied. That was brought to the board in the first instance, and the board reduced the requirement to half of that by 50%. So 80,000 with a minimum of 30. When it hit 30, it would need to be replenished. I then returned to the board with your second request, and the board responded to me, and I responded to Marissa again. I thought I copied you on it, saying that the board is inclined to stick with its first offer, which was a reduction of 50%, which is quite a large reduction.
It may be a large reduction, but it's a large reduction from a number that is extremely excessive. We're a neighboring municipality. We're not a private developer that is going to run short of funds to pay our bills. It makes no sense for you to require us to put up $80,000 for this type of review just to pay your consultants. We are not going away. We're here and we will pay our bills as they come due. To have this money put up in escrow is, well, first of all, it's insulting, and secondly, it's unnecessary.
Well, I do
Can we
take
clarify which board we're talking about? Planning board or village board?
the planning board escrow, and this board agreed to reduce the escrow by 50%. I do take exception saying that the board's decision was insulting. They're treating this application like they would any other application that comes before the planning board, and actually giving it, to an extent, preferential treatment by reducing that escrow amount. If the board is inclined to reduce it now, I will leave that to the board. However, it's not a question of whether or not your client is going away. If those funds are not used as with any other escrow account, and you saw tonight, there was a closing of an escrow, and that money is returned to you.
Indeed, it is. And that's why it's unnecessary to have such a large amount. This is a project that doesn't require that level of expense in order to be reviewed. So
I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't think, in my opinion, that this is appropriate for public comment. We have public comment at the end of our board meeting. I don't want to turn this into an agenda item that would be handled during a regular meeting, especially when this can be handled between attorneys offline. Kelly, am I off base here?
No, I agree. And all I would do is I would ask the board now if anybody is inclined at this time to further reduce that so that we can make it clear and the applicant can proceed with his application.
No.
Is anybody on the board inclined to change their position?
No.
I'm getting no's, no's, no's. Andrew, are you shaking your head? Okay, he's a no. Okay, Mr. Prater, the board is not inclined to reduce it any further at this time.
we'll be guided accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
This is Paul Olivero on Building Systems.
Nice to hear from you again, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Mayor, you had mentioned multiple letters in opposition to the moratorium. You recognized my letter. But did you also mention a letter from our attorney, Silverberg and Zelantis?
Yes, sir. I believe
You did.
Correct.
Okay, that's ours.
Hang on, before is that correct, Kelly? We did, right? Yes. That's
Well, we did receive a copy. I don't recall if it was read out, but the letter from Silverberg Zelantis was received.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Next speaker. Anybody else? Last chance. Anybody? Public comment. Excuse me. Okay, that'll close public comment. We'll move on to board member comment. I just have a brief comment. I just want to, of course, comment on the fact that tomorrow is the 19th anniversary of the tragedy of 9/11. Everyone remembers this event in their own way and differently. There are many remembrances across our region, and we're going to be having our annual remembrance here at the Highland Mills Firehouse tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., starting promptly. Social distancing will be observed, and if you're attending in person, please be sure to wear a mask. We'll also be live streaming the event on the Village Facebook page. That is, of course, if it works. It's supposed to be live streamed right now, but doesn't look like it actually went out. Certainly could be a Facebook problem. We'll blame Facebook. I don't have anything else this evening, so I'll turn it over to the rest of the board. Trustee Graziano?
Well, thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. My comments are going to be in a similar vein. You know, as we once again are about to honor those who heartbreakingly lost their lives 19 years ago in that terrible 9/11 attack, we all seem to jump on that hashtag, never forget, for a once-a-year moment. Unfortunately, we as a society in America have seemed to have forgotten some of the very tenets of what we should hold on to from that day. It was an absolute horror that cost thousands of American lives. It was also a time that showed what we could do as a country when we came together as one. Let us all take a step back and remember the days, weeks, and months that happened after this heinous attack. Let's remember how we came together as a country, regardless of race, religion, political party, or creed, to mourn those who we had lost. Let's remember how we celebrated the brave police, fire, and rescue personnel who ran selflessly towards danger that day to help others, despite the dire consequences to themselves. They were heroes to us all. Let's remember how our heroes and volunteers worked tirelessly side by side through god-awful circumstances to try and save every single life they could. Let's remember how we loved and took care of our neighbors, especially those who had suffered such tremendous loss. Let's remember how we steeled our resolve to rebuild what we lost and rebuild it together and better than ever. Let's remember our collective anger, not at each other, but at those who would attack America and our values and ideals. Let us remember that we can work together and that we can live together in peace and harmony. And finally, let's remember that we are all Americans, all human beings, to treat each other with respect, and that we are all equal in the end. So never forget those who lost their lives that day and beyond, those that continue to fall ill today from their selfless efforts, and the families that mourn and support them. And also never forget that we're all in this together as one single human race. And we need to start remembering to act that way again. Thank you and good night.
Thanks, Chris. Well said. Trustee
Gomez.
Gomez, thank you. I'm thinking of the dais and I can't get it right. Trustee Gomez.
Thank you, CJ. You took most of my words right out of my mouth. I'd like to begin by saying thank you, Mary Egan, and all those that came out tonight, because we had a lot more numbers than before. I want to invite everyone to come out tomorrow night again at 7 p.m. for our own ceremony at the Highland Mills Fire Department. Now, it's a day in which we should honor and remember all those who served that day. We should especially remember all those who sacrificed their lives on that horrific day, and all those who continue to suffer years later with the effects of unexplainable illnesses and diseases related to 9/11 complications. This day is always a tough day for me because it brings back many unpleasant memories, and many which I don't speak about nor share because it hurts too much to remember. However, it also brings back memories of a nation which was united and who showed their unity by placing flags outside their homes. Everyone gave each other a helping hand. No one cared what your race, color, or creed was. People were there to help you with food, shelter, and even just a kind word like thank you. I remember being there and all sorts of people coming to give you water, food, help, a pillow so you can rest your head while you were in these police vans, standing on the corner, and just saying thank you. The pride that came over me being a police officer in that time was overwhelming. But it took a tragedy like that to really hit home so that everyone can understand that we are always there to help and everyone comes together. The memories which I hope to always remember are the kindness and understanding people had for one another and the willingness to help each other, no matter who you were. Therefore, I hope that we as a nation continue to have 9/11 ceremonies. We should not let the current atmosphere of disrespect for our flag, our nation, and our history to continue. We must remember our past so we do not repeat it. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Jesus. Trustee Burek.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you for everyone for attending tonight's meeting. Sometimes it feels like forever ago, and sometimes it feels like it just happened yesterday. I was 19 years old and a sophomore in college at Pace University's downtown Manhattan campus. I remember September 10th, 2001 vividly because it was the last day of my ignorance of the world in which I lived. That night, I went to sleep nervous about taking my first ever accounting test the next day. Less than 12 hours later, myself and many of my classmates watched as 2 planes struck our beloved Twin Towers and watched in horror and dismay as those same towers fell just a few blocks from where we stood watching in absolute shock. On September 10th, 2001, 246 people went to sleep in preparation of their morning flights. 2,731 people went to sleep in preparation for work the next day, including 343 firefighters who went to sleep in preparation for their morning shift, 60 police officers who went to sleep in preparation of their morning patrol, 8 paramedics who went to sleep in preparation of saving lives the next day. Sadly, none of them saw past 10:30 a.m. on September 11, 2001. I woke up this morning, as I have for 18 other September 10th mornings, remembering the last day of which I knew as my childhood. As we live today and enjoy the air that we breathe, I am reminded as I go to sleep tonight in preparation for life tomorrow, to kiss the ones I love goodnight, to snuggle my kids a little bit tighter, and to never take 1 second of this life for granted. Given the turmoil we are facing as a country, it appears that some have forgotten. They have forgotten the feeling of unity and solidarity we felt on September 12th as we watched the flag fly outside everyone's home with pride. They have forgotten that people from all walks of life hugged each other, rejoicing that they had survived. They have forgotten that those NYPD officers and FGNY firemen that made multiple trips into those burning buildings to save complete strangers because that was their passion and calling, to be New York's finest and New York's bravest when we needed them the most. I know I don't only speak for myself when I say this, but these men and women deserve our utmost respect and thanks. We must go back to the time when what mattered more was what united us rather than what divided us. We must never forget. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you and stay safe.
Sarah. Andrew. You're muted.
Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. There's the picture I have saved on my laptop. The photo was taken at the funeral of Mike Hansen at St. Patrick's Church by a police photographer. Church was packed that day, people paying their respects for a man who gave so much and was gone too soon. In the photo, Mike's widow, Kathy, is presented with an American flag by one of the police pallbearers. In the same photo, my dear friend Jesus Gomez can be seen as the weight of the moment overtakes his emotions. And like that, his face says it all. I will not pretend to know the relationship that exists between two former New York City police officers, what they have been through, what they have seen. I will also not pretend to understand what our NYPD and FDNY personnel went through in the days and weeks after that fateful day of 9/11. My own personal story of that day was I'm heading to a workers' comp hearing in Brooklyn when the train suddenly stops and everyone is forced to get off. A woman, totally overcome with emotion, stops me to tell me that a plane just crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. Me being a little numb by the news, I just thanked her and made my way out of the subway. What awaited was mass chaos. I decided to head towards the New York Stock Exchange and specifically 20 Broad Street, which was one of our buildings that we owned. I remember trying to call the office and not being able to get through. I remember briefly standing on Park Row and watching the towers burn, watching someone jump and someone behind me question why anybody would jump. And then someone answering, what's the alternative? I remember arriving at 20 Broad Street and the fear in everyone's face. I remember the first tower falling. I remember 20 Broad Street shaking. I remember people panicking and running out the back lobby door. I remember the smoke cloud passing by the front window of the lobby, encompassing it so it almost looked like it had been entirely painted gray. And then the second tower fell. I remember thinking of my wife and two boys as an NYPD officer who was stationed in the lobby there was telling me that another plane was unaccounted for. And I remember the long walk back from 20 Broad Street to 11 Pennsylvania Plaza. And I remember, and I have not forgotten, this suit from that day is still packed away in the basement, never worn again, and I never washed it. It's a double-breasted, solid gray suit, sort of like my own personal reminder of that day. We are told not to forget, to never forget. Sadly, in New York City and across the state and country, people have forgotten, or more specifically, politicians have forgotten. To the men and women lost that day who work for the NYPD or FDNY, this was their job, to protect, serve, and save. Today, a generation later, our officers are vilified. A new generation is being taught to hate, disrespect, and not trust those whose job it is to assist the general public. More respect is given to those who break the law than to those who are sworn to serve the law. 19 years ago, 246 people went to sleep in preparation for their morning flight. 2,606 people went to sleep in preparation for work the next morning. 343 firefighters, 60 police officers, and 8 paramedics went to sleep in preparation for their morning shift. None of them saw past 10:30 a.m. on September 11, 2001. I will pray for each and everyone lost on this day 19 years ago. And I'll pray for all those across this country who have chosen to be a first responder. I will never forget. I ask you all to do the same. Thank you for joining us tonight, and God bless.
Thanks, Andrew. Desiree?
I don't think there's anything to add all that other than thanking Jesus for his service. And once again, he made me cry like he's done at previous meetings. So thank you.
Thanks, Des. Rob?
I agree with Desiree. There's really not much more you can say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So with no further comments received or business to discuss, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Graziano,
Second.
trustee Gomez with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How about aye? Thank you all.